Oh, hey there, vinyl community. Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records, with an album review. I'm going to look at a record I just received a few days ago and have listened to a couple of times now. That was a record store day release earlier this year, and it's the Nat King Cole live at the Blue Note Chicago. Excellent album. Uh, Record Store Day put it down. I forget, maybe there's 4,000 copies out there or something like that. I'm not one to get up real early and drive an hour or to go stand in line for hours to try to rush in there and get records on Record Store Day. I wait them out, and sure enough, for all the talk about, oh, there are only so many copies, and if you don't get there early to get that one copy, you'll never get a copy. Sure, that's true occasionally, but more often than not, you can pick these records up later at the same cost or even a reduced cost from what it was uh, on Record Store Day. And that was the case for me. I waited around. I kept it in my want list on Discogs, and I started seeing it pop up for Record Store Day price, which I think was around about $45, and start seeing it pop up for a little less. And I got this one, I think, for 35 plus shipping and tax. So it ended up being about $45 that I paid for this. But to tell you a little about this record, this is a 1953 recording from a residency he did at the Blue Note in Chicago. It's not a huge club, but not a tiny little club either, a smallish club, I guess you'd say. Uh, Nat King Cole had done, I think about 4 years prior to this, had played the club in the winter, and he was friends with the owner of the club. And when he played it in the winter a few years prior to this, there had been the worst weather they'd had in Chicago in years. And so he was there for maybe 2 weeks, and the weather was so bad, hardly anybody was able to get out to see the show. So the owner lost money. So I think it's kind of a payback to a friend. They considered themselves friends of one another, as a payback to a friend, even though he was at the point in his career was he was playing the largest venues artists were playing back then, which would have been concert halls and theaters at this in the mid 1950s. And so instead of playing, a big concert hall in Chicago, he did a residency here at the Blue Note for his friend, and even charged him a lot less than he would have charged him had it been another situation. So unfortunately, this time it was in the middle of the summer doldrums, and it was just hot as it could be. So that may have discouraged, but the crowds came out to see him this time. They uh, hot weather be damned, they showed up. So these tapes have been sitting there, and they were, I don't know if they were known about the whole time, or if they were discovered and then they decided to press this, and we are glad they did, because this is at a stage in Nat King Cole's career where he's going through some transitions. He has had a string of hits in the late 40s, early 50s, which have propelled him to a very high status as an artist at this time. He has gone from billing himself as the Nat King Cole Trio, with King in quotation marks, to simply Nat King Cole. And he changed his name legally, so they got rid of the quotation marks around King. So it was just Nat King Cole. So he is a major force in the industry at this point, and he's gone from playing a trio with him on the piano, a guitarist, and a bassist, to now he's added a drum to a drummer to the group. So it's not a trio anymore. He's also been recording a lot with Nelson Riddle. So we get a lot of these lavish productions on many of his songs in the early 1950s. So here we're hearing him in the concert setting rather than the studio setting. So we hear him with a four-piece group recording with him or playing with him, and it's being recorded by the owner of the club, and his name is Frank Holtzfield. Frank Holtzfield. And so the tapes were Frank Holstein's. He recorded it, and that's how we got it. I guess it was in the estate, and somebody got hold of it. So we are glad they did. But anyway, this is a 2 LP, 27 songs, 80 minutes worth of music from those extensive tapes that were made of this residency. And it's a 180-gram record. Each of them are, of course. And it came with a good inner sleeve. I'm so glad when they give us a good inner sleeve instead of a paper sleeve. Okay. The vinyl is flat, flawless. I always clean my records before I play them, so I did clean the records first, and but they appeared extremely clean already, and played with no surface noise. We're talking about recordings that were 65, 70 years old, almost 70 years old. Uh, but they did a good job of transferring the tape. You don't hear any tape hiss. You don't hear any ground noise. Surface. Nothing on the bottom of the recording or anything. Sounds really, really good. And they pressed it at RTI. And let's see, it was produced by James Saez, Caez, and when I say produced, I mean the historical production of it, taking these tapes and figuring out what to include, what not to include, getting the best copies, uh, recordings of each one, the best performance of each one, and that sort of thing. So the historical production was his, mastered by Stephen Marsh. The tape transfer itself was done by a man named Bill Smith, and the lacquers are cut by Kevin Gray. So can't ask for much more than that. Um, Great music on here. Great music. The crooner, the jazz crooner, Nat King Cole. How could you go wrong with this? You get the some of the big hits that we know from Nat King Cole. In this far removed from that period. For almost all of us. But you get Mona Lisa actually done in a medley, not done on its own. Close out the album with Route 66, uh, Unforgettable, which I understand was a hit, but it wasn't nearly as big a hit. I mean, if you say Nat King Cole today, probably Unforgettable is what pops into my mind first, that or Mona Lisa. Uh, walk my baby back home. So you get, what you really say. Well, what do I think of when I think of Nat King Cole? You get those songs. Uh, the only negative, this is a live club performance, so it's fun to hear the banter back and forth, and he's very good at the banter between songs. Uh, and to hear some of the people, small enough club, you can hear people shout something out or something like that sometimes. But when you really want to hear that song, uh, you also that really popular song. Uh, you get the crowd, just as you do with any other live recording, of the crowd wanting to sing the lyrics, uh, and of course the artist steps aside and lets them do it. You get that with "Walking My Baby Back Home," which I'd much rather hear Nat King Cole do it than a bunch of half drunk, patrons. And also with Route 66, so I wish that wasn't there. That would be the most negative thing I can say about it. But you also get all kinds of beautiful songs, which I'm assuming were popular songs for him, but they're not ones that I am especially familiar with, but struck me. Sweet Lorraine struck me as just really beautiful. Blue Gardenia, which was from a movie soundtrack, I believe, that he recorded. Uh, somewhere along the way. There were just lots of songs. All the songs stood out as being very strong material. You get your kind of your novelty or your funny songs too. You get a couple of those, so you get to see the sense of humor there. Calypso blues being an example of that, and uh, straighten up and fly right. Which a song we all know. You get those now. Who is on the album with him? Who are his band? John Collins is on the guitar. Uh, Charlie Harris on the bass, and Lee Young on the drums. Also in this, you get some you get some extras like this. This is taken from newspaper articles during that time, so you get to hear what people were saying. You get some nice pictures. Oh, you get some nice pictures like that. Uh, there he is with Jackie Robinson. I like this picture. This is a really good one right here. What a, he was just truly a superstar at that point in his career. So this is an excellent album. It sounds great. It was well put together. It is, as I think I said, it is a gatefold. And it's a great historical uh, landmark marker in time, 1953, just before rock and roll hits the great, extremely popular Nat King Cole. So it's a bargain. I tell you, I think you should be able to go to a brick and mortar and find it for $40 or less, and you should be able to order it uh, online from any of those brick and mortars or from Discogs or wherever else uh, for something comparable as well. So everybody, I'll just remind you, in these stressful times we live in, it is important to remember to be kind to our neighbors because, folks, whatever you think about what's going on in the world right now, remember, we are all neighbors. Love one another. Take care.